Today on the Elite Advisor podcast, we're going to be hanging out with my buddy, Brad Stinson. Brad's been a friend of mine for a long time, and early on, he was my emotionally intelligent friend. It was my friend that would always lean in, ask great questions, make me uncomfortable, and he's helped me do work over time about awareness of what is it like to sit on the other side of me? Can I stay healthy, whether it's at home, whether it's at work, which makes me a better leader, a better advisor? So I'm looking forward to diving into Brad's story, what brought him to this work he's done from corporate America to helping teams operate at a higher level. But then also we'll get really practical, and he'll have some resources for us of how can you start on some of this work if you feel like maybe you're not the leader you want to be. You want to be a better, more in touch advisor with your clients and their story. A lot of great stuff on this episode today. So we'll jump in. Brad, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Sten. Happy to be here.
It was good hanging out with you yesterday. I would introduce you as my emotionally intelligent friend.
I already have emotions about that.
Yeah, that's right. We met a long time, I don't know, 7 years ago or so.
Yeah.
And in a business group. And so I'm a financial advisor. I want to get into a business group. I want to become a better business owner. And then every time in that room, maybe all of us were recovering problem solvers for people. There's always this one guy that would like chime in and be like, hey, let's take a step back here and let's talk about it. And it took me a while to kind of finally get on board with like, oh, what's Brad even talking about? So I'd love for, as you talk we'll dive into details, but just your background. You were an athlete, you were a sales guy, you were a recruiter, but then through that, kind of where you ended up in this business of culture, emotional intelligence.
Yeah, man. Wow, that's a lot. Hey, give me your all. I think that, I started Midwest boy that, came through. I was a elite youth athlete. I like to say that like my first 20 years of life, kind of like when I could walk from like 4 to 24 was sports, and just doing as much as I can with that. And kind of the next 20 years was more, understanding how organizations work, what makes leaders leaders. And then being able to combine both of those passions kind of out over the last probably 10, working with professional athletes on emotional intelligence is kind of where I get a lot of joy and challenge, I'll just say. I know you were an athlete and I was. We're the easiest people to work with. So throwing the pro level, it's crazy. So, but yeah, I spent a lot of time knowing what it takes to perform and doing pretty well at it. Growing up, was able to, I don't say this shamelessly anymore. I was a karate world champion. I won the nationals on the U.S. team for 10 years. Was able to win nationals 10 times in a row. So I kind of started and never lost. And then I retired because karate was not in the Olympics. And then I went on to play my second love, which was soccer. And went through college, but then obviously went to pros. Played for the Columbus Crew for about 2 years on the development team, and then moved into corporate America. What's crazy is I know Sten's in financial services, but I was worked for a Fortune 100 insurance company, and then moved over to a financial services firm as well. So did those wonderful tests of Series 6, 67, 63, all those, whatever numbers, took them all, passed them all, was a partner. So the cool thing about this is I do know this world, a little bit. And so I know kind of what, this group deals with and what they were. And I was really more interested in the leading side of it. I produced for only like a year and a half, and then moved into running cultures and teams and kind of in senior leadership for a while, and then moved into wanting to be a partner. And then I found out real quickly that, what I did and how I did it could live on its own. I thought, one of those great entrepreneurial instincts. I just said, I'm going to jump and go. And I did. And been working for myself for about 10 years now. I can tell you it's only been up and to the right. Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. I think that, with your peaks and your valleys, you learn so much. And I think that through that time and energy, I got introduced to some great mentors who really took me on a journey of what emotional intelligence means, why you need it, why it's so critical to the personal and performance and professional parts of our lives. And then how do we regulate it? How do we make sure that we lean into it? Where does it give us signals and answers and triggers? Because all those things are included in that. And then ultimately, being able to kind of really help organizations, like yours and many others, small to big, to understand how do we actually bring those in safely into the just into the people we work with every day, and then you also have a home you go to. And one of the things I believe at the consulting firm I created is um, you're not just a leader or a producer, an employee, and just a professional. It's like, how do you not just develop that person, but develop the human as well? And so I had a point where, and kind of my story was that created the collective is in 2012, I had a panic attack in the office, to be completely honest, in front of a lot of my staff. And
Did
it,
you know what was happening?
I had no idea. I thought I was having a heart attack.
Wow.
And yeah, a guy got white as a ghost. And my top guy, my top sales guy, he's like, "You don't look good." And I'm like, "I don't feel good." And he's like, and so I had a panic attack. And then I went through a couple years of therapy. I'm pretty stubborn. Like, I don't like to take medicine. So they're like, "Take this." I'm like, "Nah, no, that's not going to do that." And so I finally did regulate a little bit, but it was a long journey. And then I was like, "What happened?" And what really happened is, I found some things in my past. There were some trauma that had been stuffing, and I can stuff pretty good.
Mm.
It took me till 32, 33 years old for it to pop out. And I'm pretty tough when it comes to like stuff and stuff. And then so I tried to go, all right, how do I do this different? So I started to do it different. And then I said, you know what, this is an opportunity for me to really lean into helping leaders, performance, people who perform, not let it happen to me, right? Because like for me, it was a panic attack. For other people, it could be substance abuse. For other people, it could be, marital stuff. Like, so there's a lot of things that can go into this. And so for me, I was like, there's got to be a different way. So I wanted to create a way to develop the human that also leads at work and home. And so I think that we all want that. And I don't want to be two different people. I want to be able to lean into that. So I think that gets me to about here,
Yeah.
Sten, and my time with my obviously time with you. And I love to surround myself with mentors, in my life to take me on these journeys. I think I recommend that to everybody, and I think that's just key to the journey that I've been on.
What do you find? Because I'm guessing if we just ask somebody, "Do you want to be emotionally healthy?" They'd be like, "Yes." Do you want to show up great as a leader? Like, and especially as we talk to specifically financial advisors and entrepreneurs in this space, it's like
Mhm.
I think we all have a pretty strong desire to be our best self, which maybe in the workplace is like produce the best, achieve these goals.
Mhm.
Do you find, and I think most of us, whether it's our health, like we would prefer to be proactive. Like I'd rather not hit a wall or have things fall apart before I move to action.
Yeah.
I know in my story with our work, like I had stuff had to happen that kind of forced me into the work, and I'm so thankful for it. And I wish in hindsight I would have had this wisdom of I'm going to get into this work. I go to the gym, I go to business conferences, but like this emotional health understanding piece was kind of thrust upon me.
Yeah.
Is that normal? How do you experience people doing this work?
Yeah, I would say it's very normal. I think that there's obviously the stigma that comes with therapy or psychologist or something like that. Is I don't need that. I'm good. I think that um, it does sometimes take an experience, a tragedy, a trauma, things that pop up, just like it did in mine, to go, hey, this is something's off here. Like what? Why did this happen? What happened? Because the thing about performers are this, and most probably people listen to this is like you can figure it out, you can get it done, and you can push through.
Mm.
Like that's the way they're built. That's the way it is, and like it can get you so far, like to a point. I think that I kind of I'll use the basketball analogy because I know you're a basketball guy, and it's when you're driving to the hoop, right, and the game's on the line, and you're right-handed, you're going to go right. Right, you're just going to go right. I'm going to go right, and I'm going to push it up. Like I'm probably not going to dribble. I'll probably cross and go whatever. This work to me helped me understand that I have a left hand
Mm.
and that like I'm going to put my right hand behind my back and be able to dribble to my left. I might not shoot with my left or lay up with my left, but if I've become more dangerous in the fact of like the game. right? In this game called life. And I think that a lot of times, I think we need to give ourselves some grace because the generation I'm in my 40s, and so like pre us, this was not really an accepted thing, nor was it even a taught thing or even things that people talk about. It's become a little bit more mainstream just with social media and people talking about best self emotional, what that applies to it. I think that the one thing is that I believe is that you have to be very needy. And I know people don't like that word. It's like, I don't want to be needy. I can get this done, like whatever. And it's like, what if I told you the best leaders, the best performers are extremely needy? And what I mean by that is like they don't just like express need for their performance. They don't just express need for building a team or reaching goals. But they express need in the emotional, spiritual, and mental part of their lives as well. And that's hard to do because you get so rewarded for hitting that goal or winning that award or making that trip or whatever it may be or getting the bank account wherever, getting that many clients, which is a good feeling. I would say that you know when we try to only make that as kind of our identity and idol, I think that that's where a lot of these things mask, and we can just keep going after those. I think the way that you get proactive about it is a lot of times you have to run into somebody doing it. So hopefully people listen to to this podcast and you can have your experience around it. But I think that in order, and I want everybody to understand this. I don't subscribe to like love yourself and all that kind of stuff, but I would say this. The capacity to which you can be needy and loving to yourself is in direct proportion to your capacity to love and need others.
Hmm.
Right. And what I mean by that is the more you can fill your cup up, you can actually fill others. And it's not out of you want to fill up, kind of fill it up out of the overflow. And I'm like, I just think that you got to be able to understand that your bucket gets depleted. And when it gets depleted, it's probably because of emotional energy, not because you're not smart enough, not because you can't get it done, not because you can't push through.
Yeah. I think for the work we've done, one of the first breakthroughs for me was just being aware of what's happening in me in situations that like, am I responding out of habit,
Mhm.
fear without knowing it? That like I'd be in conversations, whether it was like team members, even spouse, even kids, where it's like, man, this is bringing up stuff in me. And my instinct, I think for a long time was, how can I make this stop?
Mhm.
Like, what can I do in this moment to fix this for this person so I stop feeling what I'm feeling?
Mhm.
And the feedback I got over time was like, Sten, I always felt like you were unapproachable. There was like a distance. We don't really know you, but I was solving problems for people. Like I was probably cool to work with. I was probably fun to work for. I was like, Sten's generous and he's a nice guy. But there's this element of like, but I cannot sit in this conversation with you because it's bringing up too much.
It is. Mhm. Yeah, I think that a lot of times when you're in that, again, like I talked about, like the three things, like you're fix it. We want to fix it because I can't, in this work and being able to kind of understand your emotions, you actually grow a capacity to stay. Because when you solve problems, that means you can be finished and leave. You don't have to be finished and stay. I think what happens is because we're fixers, because we're doers, and because of probably a lot of people listening can get a lot of things, accomplished. I think that a lot of times we want to do that and just keep checking the things off. Well, that doesn't produce connection, attachment, or relationship. Neither one of those. And that is the biggest human's desires. I don't care how many teammates you have or clients you have, but what you want out of your spouse, out of your kids, out of your friends, out of your family is attachment, connection, and relationship. And when we go solve things for people and do things for people and talk over people and get it done, we actually get farther away from those things. The goal in us is for us to actually show up to our true self and not a false self. False self would see, I'm going to fix you. I'm going to do what we need to do to ultimately finish this conversation, get us going. The true self will be able to be like, hey, this conversation's taking a little too long. I don't know where you want to go with this. Like, can we reset? Bringing my feelings into it, because then that's true, right? And we're not trying to just finish it or get past it. What we're trying to do is to say, how much capacity do I have to hold the space? And I think that when you understand, some of the biggest gifts in my life has been not fixing it for somebody, but letting them, one, fix themselves, but then also like me being there to say, all I did was just hold it with you. And I think that you have to have emotional resilience, intelligence, regulation, whatever you want to call it, to be able to do that. And I think that what you'll do is you'll actually get a more texture to your life.
Mm.
When you have a texture to your life, um, uh, it means a little more.
Yeah. I think back at different times in my career, I heard of people talking about like the emotional side of money.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
and I would, early on, I was like, that's silly. Like, it's just solve problems, make people more money, build them a plan, and they'll do business with you.
Yeah.
And so I was something in me kind of rejected like that just seems less effective, less important.
Yeah.
But as I've done this work, I think where I see that, I don't know if I'm fully in the camp of like that's more important than the practical problem solving side of things. Like I
Sure.
will always be wired to like if I can save you in taxes, I'm going to get excited about that.
Yeah.
But I do find myself asking different questions in meetings. Um, like if I say something, I used to never do this. Now I'll say, what came up in you when I said that?
That's a great question.
Or how do you feel about this?
Mm.
Running out of money for retirement. Before it was, hey, I can help you not run out of money. But then trying to tap into like, if you think about retiring and like the pressure and potentially running out, and if you were had to go back to work when you were 80, what comes up when you like that? Now I can get on board with like, yeah, that's important. And it's not taking away from the practical side of being an advisor. It's kind of deepening probably my ability to connect and get results
Oh,
if I can sit in that.
yeah. I mean, there are so many life moments that you all get to go through that I'm just like envious of and like what I got to see. Like, you obviously somebody gets a huge bonus. Whoa, like that's a big get a big promotion, right? They get a lot of money, they buy a new investment property, they get an inheritance, somebody dies. Like there's so many moments and transition periods that if you can tap into the feeling side of what you're doing for your business and what you're doing for the person, it's like take the transactional part away from it and then probably step into a human conversation, which can be actually more transformational. Move from transaction to transformation. And transformation says, ask those questions and says, hey, you know, not only like, let me not lose, but who would you love to bless later in life? What does grace look like and you being able to, to help somebody in need, and like, what does that look like for you in your philanthropy part of what you're doing? Like, what gets you up out of bed? Like, what breaks your heart? What makes your heart beat? What are
Mhm.
those things that can really separate your conversation of like, where would you like you mean to put this nonprofit? What's the tax ID, of
Yeah.
that nonprofit, or yeah, like, no, like, tell me why you're so passionate about like the hungry people who need food, like leaning into even the philanthropy part of what you guys, can do as well. But I think there's so many transitional moments for you to pause and say, how did that feel? Like a big promotion. Like, how did that feel?
Yeah.
Like, tell me, like, you just got elevated and all these things are changing and your responsibility. It's like, and then you can lean in and go, man, like, I remember when I did that and that was scary,
Mm.
but that was awesome too. But I was also scared a bit more. And then they go, oh, like, and you can connect on a human level. And I think that's where you can separate yourself, at least in conversation and people buying into, because a lot of these people sign up with people like you for a very long time, for their lifetime. And I think it would be, I think you have a huge opportunity in this world to really lean into the human side of what you do versus just, the money side.
Yeah, when you were talking, what came up in me was the probably the a number of opportunities we have to celebrate with people
Oh, yeah.
that I know I'm probably missing because I'm like in my personal life, something cool happened, great, let's move on to the next thing. But as an advisor to like pause and hey, you just paid something off. Hey, you just hit a savings goal. Hey, obviously retirement's a big one. Hey, you just had a grandchild. Like I don't even know if I could quantify if you were the source of these like celebratory moments and the reminder of progress and growth.
Yeah. Mhm.
I mean, that could be a standalone position on a advisory team.
Yeah, and I think that, like, even if you draw a line down the middle of the page that you're, taking information on them, go like, what are the human moments that happened for you this year?
Mm.
Oh, we had a baby. Oh, I got a promotion. Oh, my dad retired. Like, you're gonna find the human stuff versus just the stuff that you guys are good at, on the money side.
Yeah, that's good.
And then imagine you keep all that stuff, and then in 15 years, you bring it back up and go, look at all we've been through. Not the money, the moments.
Life. Yeah, that's strong. So getting practical, I know you have some like assessment tools. You've come in and helped my team. If
Yeah.
we were to get really practical and somebody's listening, they're either like, okay, I'm open to this work
Yeah.
being helpful, but I'm still skeptical, to those that are listening that are like, I just need to be told the next step and I'm willing to do it.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Yeah, I think skeptical's okay. I think you got to what I tell people all the time is like the way that you gain trust and belief in something is to distrust it openly. So if you have any questions about it and be like, I don't believe in this and whatever, then I'd love a conversation around that just as much as I was love one as I'm interested. Because like to me, it's probably not what I'm saying, it's actually your past that is keeping you from it. And so I think that anybody who's skeptical, it's actually that to me would be, you know what, there might be something back there that that I haven't dealt with that makes me not lean into something like this because the way the humans are made, we are made for connection, we're made for attachment, we're made for relationships, and we were made to operate this way. This is how we were. And so what I love to give just a human back to the human. And I think that people that are skeptical, I know people have different backgrounds and people have different ways they were brought up, and some of it's very traumatic. And I would say that doing that work will be hard, but rewarding down the road. For the person who's interested in practical, we have sessions that we start to where we go kind of on a 12-week course, just around understanding, one, what emotions are. We go through uh, uh, we use a thing with the 8 feelings. So we kind of go through each feeling, say how it works and what it does and how does it apply to your life personally and professionally. We kind of come out the other side just saying, here's how you can use this in an applicable form, moving back into your business and personal life. And, we kind of start those on the quarter, so like April 1 and July 1 and September 1. So we do 12 weeks and it's 1 hour and you can log in and I can get obviously information to Sten on what that looks like. And, the goal there is just to say, you know what, if I have a little bit of like an itch that needs to be scratched, there's just a little something stirring,
Mm-hmm.
go find out, I will say I've been in the leadership and organizational space for a long time. I've probably done every test that you've done and probably more. And the work around emotional intelligence. And again, this is work that I've studied and I'm certified in and what I do. And so like, I believe that like this is the best work that I've found that has really made a difference in about every leader that I've ever worked with.
Mm, yeah. What about, I know you're doing work around assessments, trying to scale
Yeah.
the amount of value you can put out in the world. What's the latest on that?
Yeah. So the way I kind of came out of the corporate world into my own is I developed an assessment inside of that and said, you know what, this doesn't need to live in one company. Let's live outside. And so how I do that, I know there's different size teams on this call and people you're connected to, maybe even your clients that run things. A lot of assessments are either done top down in big organizations, right? Or you go and get it and then you get an assessment. It's a 50-page report and you're like, what do I do with this? So our goal in this is to say, we're going to kind of blend both. And we really take it where we flip it on its head to where, Sten, let's just use your office, for example, you got 10 employees. You kind of said, what is so different about ours is your employees, the people that work for you get to say, I'm going to pick what goes on the assessment, meaning
Mm.
I get a say in what is going to go, what we want to talk about, and what I think is most important for us to get better as a team. Then we're going to score it. And then we're going to pick a top 3 that we're going to go on. So from the very beginning, we create ownership from the start. So it's not just Sten leading the whole time, right? It's Sten facilitating and everybody being a part of the change that they needed to have. A lot of the things that you see are very top down or expert based. And I said, I can't believe anybody walks into Sten's office and wants to be an expert. Sten and his team is an expert on Sten's team. So what are the things they need to lean into? And then you get a report and then you get a coach. So like we obviously have the assessment, you get a report with facilitation guides, and then you get a coach that runs with you for the next 3 months as you have biweekly meetings. So this assessment we've done with thousands of leaders and hundreds of teams over a decade. And we used to like most of this would cost $50,000 to $100,000 to work with us. And over the last year, we've made a flip to say now it's ready to give to everybody to be able to use on their own, so that because we believe in leaders, and with a coach, one of our coaches coming alongside of you, you can do this. And that really, it kind of puts you back into leadership because there's a lot of managing going on these days. And I said, how
Sure.
do you elevate to have tough conversations, moving forward conversations, and the conversations everybody knows you need to have. And so we've created an assessment that we haven't found on the market. And a lot of people, when we come in and do it in these big organizations or they've done it, they're like, why didn't we just do this? I go, I created it out of my own pain of
Yeah.
being told what to do versus listening to my team on what they need.
Yeah. Yeah. I think in our industry, there's a good amount of motivation and energy around like, let's get better. Let's make our processes better.
Yeah.
Like there's a pretty consistent momentum on that. I would say there's something about knowing yourself better, leading others better, that if you could do one thing that would have the biggest ripple effect, better spouse, better parent, better team member, the work we've done on this and keep doing on this, it does feel like the payoff maybe isn't as practical on day one as like we just improved our client onboarding experience slightly.
Yep.
But it does feel like this kind of work changes the lens that everything goes through.
Yeah, I think that for me, they always say like nothing comes easy, nothing comes quick, and I think that like this really helps a team and a leader slow down and just remember why you're there and be able to kind of lean into the gift you get by working, with others and for others and providing things that, providing the services you provide. I think that it's anything that is worth it takes time.
No. Yeah. Awesome, brother. Well, I'm going to make sure we'll link to the 12-week cohorts and the assessment. So anybody listening that's like, hey, I know I need to get into this work, which all of us should be in this work to some degree. But when there's capacity and a willingness, I think it's second to none.
I agree. Yeah, man. I think this is very, very important work wherever you find it. So go find it.
Yeah. Thanks, brother.